Short answer, yes, I should. But I don't know if everyone should. This is not some sort of grand statement of the creative process. You see, at the start of this whole process, I had a very clear plan, a dream for what this solo game dev experience was going to be. And I jumped straight in. Everyone had said, just start, just get going. Every YouTube video I watched was like, just get going. But I probably didn't put enough thought into the first game idea. I set myself some pretty wise, clear rules about what I thought would make a good solo game. Doing a content last game, where you can prototype quickly, making sure it was a marketable idea, making sure that the inputs were simple and satisfying so that someone could pick it up and play and within seconds be having fun. And then I proceeded to make a game that achieved none of those things. And I'd say that the words make a game is probably a little bit of a self-satisfying, self-glorifying thing. I worked on a prototype for a month, but that game is dead in the water. It's scrapped, at least for now. Let's say that. Let's be a little bit positive about the process, at least for now. You learn from your mistakes, eh? And I'm joking a little bit here, but the switching process isn't easy. I'm sure anyone that's creative, that has started a project and it's not gone how they wanted, has felt that little bit of despair about the wasted time. And for me, I was lucky. I realized this after only 3 weeks of development time put into it, where some people, spend years on a game just to realize that it was never fun to begin with, or they could never finish it to begin with. So in hindsight, I'm thankful I realized it quite so quickly, but at the same time, it kills a little bit of your soul to throw away this idea that you were so excited by at the beginning. Self-critical analysis, especially on creative projects, and especially as a solo creator, is not easy, and it's something you have to nurture and a skill you have to get better at, and I have in no way mastered it. This was not an easy process. It's not oh, wow, Tom, you had this great idea, but it didn't work out. That's okay. On to the next thing. You're great. No, it was a little bit more self-hatred than that, but we're past that stage and we're now excited about the new project, and that's all that matters. So what is the new project? Boats. Ever since I played Sea of Thieves for the very first time, I was infatuated with the boat and sailing mechanics. And in the end, Sea of Thieves got ruined for me by all of the meaningless grind, along with the absolutely infuriating player interactions that I had. But still, that base sailing mechanic was something that I loved to do. And just the satisfying feeling when the wind hit those sails, you got that little sound effect and a little speed boost, and you were cruising to your destination with your map reading, your planning. And so I'm going to make a game that just does those things. This game idea also wasn't purely driven by my enjoyment of Sea of Thieves back in the day. It was also driven by this concept of fantasy-first game design, which is not something that I'd never heard of, but it's something that I got reminded of by the YouTuber Jonas Tyroller. So if you want to look at more YouTube content, you should definitely look at him for game dev stuff. What I liked about the approach was not only fantasy-first, but also mechanic and experience-first gameplay, was that I could make a small little experience that I could make really fun, and I could then adjust the scope based on what I think the game needed. I didn't need to plan out every minutia. Like the previous project was all about all these different interactions that would interweave into a cool, wild story. It was a very much content-first game. It was a game that was all about the content, not about the experience or necessarily any individual interaction. And that was the problem, is that I couldn't test it until I built quite a lot of stuff. Whereas with this idea of sailing a boat around, if I got sailing right, everything else I could kind of figure out later on. So that's what I've done. I've got a little prototype with the base sailing mechanics, and I'm really excited by it. I've been having fun just in my test scene, sailing around, trying to catch the wind. The future of the game makes more sense to me. It's a content last game, like I said. It's about sailing a boat. Let's start with sailing a boat. It's a marketable idea. People that like casual games and like the idea of sailing around a pretty environment will be able to latch onto it very quickly. And also, by doing this simple sailing mechanic first, I can make sure that those inputs are simple and satisfying, and that someone that gets in the boat within 5 seconds can be sailing and be having a good time without really needing to understand what the rest of the game is just yet. So anyone watching this video is probably thinking about doing the same thing. They're not happy with their current idea. They want to switch it up. And I'll say, you don't have to switch it up necessarily. But what you should definitely do is think about your goals and rules for your project, whatever creative project it might be. For me, it was making a game with a tight scope that felt great to play, and that was marketable. And my current project I was working on was none of those things. And it took me to step back and do that critical analysis. And that's what I suggest people do, is set yourself those rules and goals for whatever project you're working on, and take the time to regularly check the progress and the state of the project against those rules and see, have my expectations changed? Have my rules changed? Or actually, am I straying too far away from my original idea? And if you're just in a creative funk and you can't figure anything out, go away. And this might sound completely random and counterintuitive, and you've probably already clicked away from the video. If you haven't, subscribe, thank you. For my mental health tip of the week, go away and listen to a band that you haven't listened to for years. It's very fun and detoxifying. Sometimes a little bit cringe, like, oh my God, how did I love this? But go away and do it. It'll be fun. Good luck. Have a great day.